So, Paul, what are some of the obstacles to the early detection of wet AMD?
Well, you're right, there are obstacles. To quote the Neely study, just to put this in perspective, this was a clinical trial where patients who actually had AMD, clinically significant AMD, were not diagnosed as having it. And a third of those were intermediate stage. So that's in just one study showing, we're missing 1/4 of them, and a good percentage of that group are at least intermediate stage already. So, I think it's a combination of things, really. I'd say 3 in particular, and then we can even go into more. But number one is, I don't think patients are realizing it, presenting properly, meaning they may not notice subtle changes. It may be so gradual they're not picking up. And even those who may have a diagnosis already are just not monitoring it well. Number two, I think doctors are also having trouble making the diagnosis, in the sense that if I go back to when I was in school, we didn't have the technology. You basically were given a sentence that you're going to go blind slowly or quickly if it was wet or if it was dry. It kind of gave the inclination that you can't do anything for it. And I think there's still doctors who haven't realized how much more we can do, and where we're at and what can be done in terms of monitoring, for example, in terms of formulations for slowing progression.
And I'll tell you one place that I think we've really lacked, and that is, despite all of these advances in technology, we're still using an Amsel grid. And as much as an Amsel grid is convenient for our patients, it's easy to give them it, we don't have time to instruct them on how to use it properly. Patients struggle with it. They struggle with knowing how to interpret it, how to do it repeatedly. And I think it's a limitation, actually, to this early diagnosis. It's better than nothing, but it's not as good as what we could have.
And I think sometimes it may not even be better than nothing, because there's this kind of perceived notion that that's all I need to be watching for. And I think, as you'll see in some of the stuff we'll talk about, you can miss an awful lot. And so, yeah, I agree, it's better than not knowing anything or being around there, but I also think it gives a false sense of security sometimes, and they're not able to pick up the changes that are so subtle that are necessary to keep vision where it's supposed to be or improve it.